or rather the tax input for interior design materials, tiles, and so on and so forth, will be going up to 25%. Very, really And so we need to talk against that, because that will definitely skyrocket the cost of construction. And that's something we need to control at the end of the day. And so this is one of the areas in which we try to track in terms of the cost of construction. If you look at the trend on the selected construction inputs, in this case we're looking at the dollar. First of all, is very important for this one. They only know about the contract and how the dollar has been behaving. In 2022, it was at 123. In 2023, it was at 123.25, and today we're talking about the dollar being around 129. That affects a lot of things, labor, if you're having your finance from abroad, and so on and so forth. And that's already a major input. We look at 1 liter of petrol, as you can see, it has gone the same way that the dollar went up and then came down. The petrol will go on and come down. The other day I was just looking at a liter of petrol in a country like Egypt. It's almost 0 point something over dollar, 0.5 over dollar. While in Kenya we are at almost $2 to the liter of petrol. And so that already is a major input in terms of transportation and even machinery use on site. Because before you connect your construction site to power, you have to use some form of fuel to run the generators, to move materials from the source of materials to your site and so on and so forth. And that already affects construction. Cement is the one that has been taken an upward trend from 650 to 830 in 2024. And we've all had the stories about the bag of cement being even smaller than the 50 kg. So that's something we also need to bring our attention to and speak to KEBS around standardizing. There are some issues that it should not be occurring. Really, a 50 bag of cement should just be 50 bag of cement. There should be no questions about it. And so we'll be calling upon KEBS at least to help us here. Steel has maintained its pricing around 140 and 141 between 2022 to 2023. So the average cost of construction, when we look at it using a standard bungalow in Nairobi, is at 48,750 per square meter, and a low-rise apartment block at 60,435 per square meter. And this is what we found out. Today, as we speak, we know that there's a push to bring down the cost of construction, of course, especially for affordable housing, and we want them to look into even what it is we come up with here in terms of the cost. I think there was a time they were looking at 55,000 per square meter, which is, as you can see, it's quite impossible. If a low-rise bungalow in Nairobi is at 48, even if you were to remove some of the inputs in there, you could probably only come down to about 40, 41, and I think right now for those who engage in affordable housing, I think that is the price. They're at 41,000 per square meter. On to matters of infrastructure, and I'm very happy to see the President here. We'll be happy to have the report on infrastructure. You can share with us and we can update our report because it's online, and we're happy to add more information to it as we move forward. Is that from KENHA, there are 38 road construction projects for Class A roads and Class B roads that were undertaken. And you can see the total road length is at 1,266 for Class A, Class B, 1,257, and Class S. Is that sufficient? Okay. Engineer, you can help us. Yes. The superhighway is 103 kilometers.
Superhighway and expressways.
Since in 2024. When you come to electrification, you know that that's also a major input in terms of infrastructure around this area. And we looked at this information from REREC. We now have 49,500 new customers connected as of June 2024. There was an additional 17,850 targeted for the next fiscal year. And we come to urban roads, which I think is what we constantly look at. And we are talking about roads within the urban area, which are not necessarily the same way roads are looked at when it comes to highways, Class A, Class B. The roads in urban areas are multifaceted. They will have designs of the roads done. We have bridges, we have new construction, we have footpaths, We also have maintenance, which are periodic and routine maintenance, and you can see the numbers as shown there. You'll see that routine maintenance has actually reduced in routine maintenance has actually reduced this year compared to last year. You can see quite enough that same trend happening for footpaths, periodic maintenance, and routine maintenance of roads. Yet this year is the year we've experienced the most torrential amount of rains. And so this report is just to tell you when something is not being done somewhere, it has a net effect on another side. Our roads are not looking as good as they should look at. The reason why we put this here is that we've been talking about the integrated and inclusive infrastructure framework, which we relaunched during the World Economic Forum, and we're working together with IEK, the Corporate Design Initiative, supported by the Royal Academy of Engineers from the UK and the UCL, also from the UK. And the idea is that roads need to be looked at as a multidisciplinary project. That I think we need to knock on the doors and have our engineers invite planners, invite architects, landscape architects to actually look at roads, because roads is not just the tarmac. I think there's so much around making roads more inclusive, especially in urban areas, so that these roads are actually designed, or the infrastructure that we're designing now begins to meet the basic standards of non-motorized transportation, cycling paths, and so on and so forth. Going forward, the footbridges that we have, and so on and so forth. I think in our report we included the footbridge design application of the same. Reports from other areas, we have the National Construction Authority also launched the National Building Code 2024, which is the first comprehensive update adopted in 56 years, and we want to allow the authority for being able to do this. However, you must note that it overlooks some certain areas in terms of contributions of emerging professionals within the built environment, and we also tend to push to have a code council. The same way we have KENHA, KURA, affordable housing, and so on and so forth. All these boards are there, our councils are there. But who will implement the code? We need a council to implement the code, to compare it with the codes that are across the world, and the international practice actually is to actually have a code council, which is something that's key going forward. I know that the authority will be carrying out sensitization of the building code in the first quarter of 2025, and so we'll be able to also give input regarding the same. The Coalition of Built Environment Professionals, we have now revamped this, and we are working on a unified framework to regulate all professionals here. Actually, after this launch, we'll be having a baraza discussing this pertinent issue and to give us a way forward, because we need to now have a policy provision that we can knock on the doors of the Cabinet Secretary and ask that we start looking at the law that will help us regulate all professionals under the one mother professional bill. This will also help us to streamline academic accreditation and public representation on boards and the enforcement of disciplinary actions. We come to an interesting part where we're talking also about alternative dispute resolution in the built environment. As you all know, AEK does appoint arbitrators to projects when it comes to arbitration. And we just want to show you what you'll be looking at AEK in 2024. Sometimes maybe we've not been able to release this. But this particular chart shows you the arbitration cases that we've handled in AEK in 2024. In January, we actually had a very high number of cases that we were looking at. Something that moves towards more than a billion shillings. More than 7.5 billion shillings. We had quite a number of projects that were coming in there. And then in the month of February, it's going forward and it's slowed down at the end of the day. We can just say that the range of dates between January to August, we've been able to award, or rather, the value of contracts that have come to AEK have been between 3 billion shillings and 1.5 billion shillings. And the highest dispute that we've had to look at is one that was the value of 387 million shillings. The total sum of contracts that are under dispute are 5.62 billion shillings, and the reported dispute values that we received is around 435 million shillings, meaning that, of course, there is a contract sum. It doesn't mean people are disputing the full contract. The amounts that are under dispute are the China Institute of Arbitrators to also work with them, to also educate them, the contractors and professionals to look at alternative dispute resolution as the best way as opposed to quickly moving to court. And these mechanisms include mediation and adjudication over and above arbitration. This year, and during this particular President's dinner, we want to talk about AI and the construction sector and technology, because we cannot now be left behind to look at all this information without bringing it together. Where do we want to go ahead in terms of the work that we are doing? So the construction industry remains among some of the least digitized sectors globally, largely due to long-standing resistance to change. And the opportunities are right there. We need to start thinking about digitizing our space. AI can help us to better make decisions, to minimize costs, and to shorten our timelines. It can also enhance safety monitoring, both in real time, and also to help us in resource management. I think that's very critical, especially when it comes to project management at the end of the day. We also want to look at cost optimization on site. And I think automated or AI-driven construction-related tasks in organizations need to be looked into. As you can see today from this particular report, is that more than 70% of the tasks that we do in the construction sector are still manual at the end of the day. They are not using any form of technology. We are still writing minutes by hand, we are still doing sketches on site to give our contractors, we are still supervising physically, 10-story buildings and so on and so forth. We need to start embracing technology at the end of the day, and we'll be speaking about this during the President's dinner from our keynote speaker. The construction sector in Kenya remains a vital driver, in conclusion, of economic growth and development, showing remarkable resilience and adaptability amidst various challenges. The substantial influx of projects registered and approved by NCA and county governments respectively underscores the vibrancy of the sector. The high number of residential project applications reflects the sustained demand for housing and the need for the government to create a more conducive environment for the sector to contribute to the production of affordable housing. AAK continues to champion collaboration, transparency, and innovation to meet the industry's demands and to lay a strong foundation for a sustainable and inclusive future. And in closing, we just want to highlight to you that AK continues to have a number of initiatives so that we're able to actually achieve some of the things that we're talking about and the shortcomings from the report. We have a Safari Green Relay Index, we have the Grow Classroom Project, we have the 3IF framework, which we just talked about under the roads sector. We have our Milika Mjengo, where we report on unsafe construction sites. We have our Healthy Homes guidelines and checklists, and we continue to have our public awareness campaign named J. Una Mjengo. And with those few remarks, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to declare the report released 2024. Thank you very much. And in that regard, allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to invite those who have made the remarks to come to the floor so we can take a group photo with the copies, and then I'm able to release our chairperson. Together with the representative of the peers,
Zimetosha for now. Next need biggest one more. Kama tutaenda kwa ofisi. people can just something. We still have a pen. We were supposed to have it, but these are different people. We didn't have to, like, we just have the bazaar and stuff.
Housing and urban development, who is representing the chief guest, is Charles Speaker, as well as the housing secretary, Julius Mansai, who will make remarks.
Good evening. I'm Julius Delgado from the State Department for Housing and Urban Development, and I will be representing the TX engaged function. It was not available, and the asked responsibility to me. At the State Department for Housing and Urban Development, I am in charge of the Civil Servants Housing Scheme Fund, where we finance civil servants to access housing. I'm also in charge of the design under the Affordable Housing Program. I'm in charge of design. I'm working closely with your neighbors, the architects, the QSs, in terms of implementation of the project, tendering and procurement before we start the commencement of the project. For today, I have a very simple assignment. This guy will be going through the statement by the PS. And I start with my statement. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It is my honor to join you today for the release of the Status of the Built Environment Report 2024. This is an important occasion for all of us who are tasked with the responsibility of building a better, more sustainable Kenya. I want to take a moment to thank the Association of Architects of Kenya and all those who contributed to this report for their hard work in compiling such a comprehensive document. The V is harnessing technology and AI in the construction industry that captures the transformative journey our sector is embarking on. As Kenya continues to urbanize rapidly and embracing innovation is not just an option, it is an imperative. Therefore, I implore all stakeholders present here today to embrace technology and continue promoting the adoption and mainstreaming of the technologies within our land and housing sectors, such as the Adisata, the Gomayangu, and the much needed one-stop approval system to promote sustainability, enhance service delivery, and promote excellence in delivery. The status of the Built Environment Report 2024 reveals significant strides in the built environment sector, which I am proud to reiterate. Number one, there is the infrastructure development. We have witnessed investment in roads, railways, and rural electrification, bringing vital services closer to our people. These projects reflect our unwavering resolve to enhance connectivity and improve lives. However, infrastructure accounts for only 11% of the development budget, leading to a critical gap between urban growth and the development of essential support systems. The rise of smart city initiatives, including Konza Smart City and Thika Industrial Smart City, signals achieved toward modern urban solutions. Nonetheless, unbalanced investments risk undermining urban livability, highlighting the need for more comprehensive infrastructure planning. Then we have the affordable housing initiatives. Under the affordable housing program, over 1,000 housing units have been completed as of October 2024, with 91,882 units still under development as of November 2024. This effort highlights the government's zeal in addressing our housing deficit. The milestones achieved in the AHP is credited to the contributions of technical experts and consultants who have supported the project design, planning, and financing strategies. A total of 300 professionals have been engaged through the 3 consortia to oversee design, project management, and the sale of housing units. AAK is partnering with the Institution of Engineers of Kenya and the Institute of Quantity Surveyors of Kenya has established the Affordable Housing Program Forum, a platform that enables stakeholders to collaborate with the government by providing professional services in design and construction supervision for the AHP. Beyond numbers, the AHP emphasizes inclusivity by engaging women in projects, training artisans, and integrating green building practices into design. These efforts not only aim to provide housing but also foster social equity and sustainability. While there is much to celebrate, there are challenges that require our urgent attention. One, there is the urbanization pressure. Over 31% of our population live in urban areas and 60% live in the informal settlements, where we have inadequate planning and infrastructure strain cannot be denied. Only 15 counties have the approved county spatial plan, where 40% of the counties remain in the early stages of planning. The absence of comprehensive local physical development plans contributes to uncoordinated development, which strains infrastructure and public services. Furthermore, climate change exacerbates urban vulnerabilities as demonstrated by widespread flooding and temperature spikes of up to 60 degrees above the normal in 2024. To addressing these challenges, robust planning frameworks and adaptive policies must be developed and implemented. Then there is the building safety concerns. The NBI has been auditing buildings and has revealed that 42 or 3% of the inspected buildings were classified as dangerous. And to address these issues, the AAK has proposed a one-stop shop model. This solution aims at centralizing permitting, integrating key agencies, and reducing approval times, thereby enhancing transparency and accountability. Then we have the environmental and social impact. The dual challenges of climate change and unplanned development, exemplified by the perennial floods and drought affecting many parts of our country, demand stronger mitigation and adaptation strategies. This calls for sustainable, forward-looking urban planning and the priorities that prioritizes the safety and well-being of our citizens. Then there is the cost of construction. Again, construction costs in Kenya have risen due to the escalating material prices and fiscal policies. The cement prices have increased, and the steel costs have also surged, partly due to new excess duties and coal and steel imports. These increases strain project budget and timelines. Despite the challenges, innovative financing models such as green financing and streamlined supply chains are being explored to counteract the rising costs and ensure affordability in housing and infrastructure projects. Then we have the land and property prices. The rising land costs have been recorded, particularly in urban areas like Nairobi. The property market remains robust, with the residential projects accounting for 69% of all approvals in 2024. Despite these gains, speculative investment and the lack of affordable options continue to affect accessibility for low and middle income Kenyans. This report is more than a reflection of our current state. It is a roadmap for the future. To build resilient, inclusive, and sustainable communities, we must act decisively. We need to leverage on technology, and I ask the stakeholders to adopt the one-stop shop model for development control by streamlining permitting processes. The initiative will promote transparency, efficiency, and accountability in our countries. Number two, we have to champion sustainability. Green building standards must become the norm, not the exception, and we need to incorporate practices in all projects, especially the affordable housing project that will position Kenya as a leader in environmentally conscious development. Then we have to strengthen partnerships. Collaboration between the government, professionals, and citizens is vital. Initiatives like the Murika Mjengo campaigns demonstrate the power of engaging communities to ensure that building safety, and compliance. Then we have to empower the local governments. Countries must prioritize completing the county spatial plans, adopting digital permitting systems, and involving citizens in plan processes. Together, these efforts will foster structured and inclusive growth. We have the call for action. Ladies and gentlemen, as we conclude the year, let us reaffirm our shared obligation to improve the standard of living for all Kenyans. The challenges that lie ahead of us are significant, but not insurmountable. Through innovation, collaboration, and an enduring commitment to excellence, we can transform Kenya's built environment into a global model of sustainability and resilience. I invite you all, government officials, the private sector leaders, the built environment professionals, and citizens to join hands in this journey. Let us build not just structures but futures, not just cities but communities. As we turn the pages of this report, let us inspire action and innovation. Let it guide us in addressing today's challenges and seizing tomorrow's opportunities. Together, we can build Kenya that we and generations to come will be proud to call home. Thank you and congratulations to the AFA for this remarkable contribution to our nation. Signed by the King. Thank you very much for that message.
Thank you, Mr. Julius, for delivering that message from the PS. I'd like us to go to the next session on the program, but first I'd like to invite you to scan the QR code on the screen so that you are able to read through the status of the built environment report that the President just released a few minutes ago. Please scan and read through on your own time and as we continue with the discussions. And then I'd like to invite the Vice President, Architect George Arabu, to take us through the next session. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. And first I need to update the program that we had a buffer of 1 hour between 6 and the dinner. We had a program of a discussion which was supposed to start earlier. So what we'll do, I will like to invite you to the high tea, but not as a group. You can go out one by one and pick the tea and come back. I will be setting up chairs here for my panelists who will respond to one question I have, and then I'll receive a few reactions from the audience. So if you feel like you need to partake the tea, or as we call it in the program, the high tea, please feel free to walk out and come back with it. In the meantime, if I get some hands here, some technical hands to help me bring some chairs here. We have a very important panel to discuss this report and the issues of the coalition of the built environment. Please understand that one of the key people we invited here, including my friend here, IAK President, were the leadership of our sister organizations in the built environment professional bodies. We are seeking a way in which, as a built environment in this country or the sector, we can have one voice. And if you are here representing the other organizations that we invited, you are welcome to join me at the front. And I'm going to also call out a list of panelists, including NCA. If Nancy is still here from NCA, I believe you are representing your ED. I would like you to join me here. Tom from Crownwinds, our supporters and sponsors for the day. I would also like you to join me at the front. My president, I would like you to join me as well. So feel free, and just remember there's also dinner. So you can just have a tea as a matter of courtesy, because we've paid for it. Right. Guided from Crown, we have someone else called Sanide Toko. Please join us at the front. Guided even further. We are going to have some key persons giving interviews to the media. There is a media panel outside, and our friends from the fourth estate will be guided by Rhoda, who's outside there, to show you which individuals to speak to as we proceed with this other discussion. Engineer Shama, I'd like you to join us. There was someone from ACMK. Nancy will go and see her still here. Okay. In the meantime, if you have queries, some clarifications, something related to the report omitted, this is a good time to jot that down. From the State Department, please join us, since Said was supposed to be here, but we'll use your representative. We have from do we have someone from NHC? Someone from NHC, we were expecting US Martin. All right. I would like to have an architect here up front. We are going to call our chair, the architects chapter. You are a representative of the biggest group of architects in the country. Please join us. Do we have someone from IQSK? ISK? I have one chair for my president, and I would also like that other chair filled up. Just wondering whether just try to do some justice here with the gender balance thing. Unfortunately. I'm guided further. There's a little town planner here somewhere. Please join us. Please speak. God, Vice Chair. Town planner, are you here? Sorry for ambushing you. Try to balance out the equation. What I will do is, because some of these questions were quite specific, let me first start off with one that was, anyone from, of course, I would have known it when you were here, the chair of Borax. Anyone from the board? Maybe a board member to present the board? Okay. I'll start with my last question, and this is, I'm going to put it to our sponsor, because we had actually indicated that we would have a discussion around what the industry suppliers are doing with regards to doing with environmentally friendly or conscious materials, and what, in terms of collaborations, what us as the built environment can support the manufacturing industry in terms of developing this material, because I think it's a multi-pronged approach, and maybe we can hear from what is Crown doing. Do we have another mic, or they have all gone out with the fourth estate? Do we have another mic? Okay, I'll be looking for one. We'll just share this.
Good evening. Yeah, my name is Sanfele Shoko. I'm from Crown Paints. We are the biggest paint manufacturer in the East and Central Africa. I think for most of you, you know that we come at the end of the construction. We finish what we start. And in paints, we are notorious for being heavy pollutants, which is against what most of the companies are doing now. People are becoming environmentally conscious. People are looking for more things than paint. One of the topical issues that we are finding is that in paint, people are not just looking at color. They are looking at more than paint. They are not looking at just it's blue, it's green, it's red. They are looking at other issues like what more can I get from it? From a life cycle perspective, from the beginning of the painting up to the end. I'll call it from the cradle to the grave. What is it that we have to look at from a safety point of view? People want to know, are paint going to damage my lungs? Am I going to get cancer? Am I going to get this? These are topical issues which are coming. We have issues of pollution, issues of VOC. People are looking for low VOC paints which don't contaminate the environment. There are also ethical issues that come with paint. Like, do you deal with companies which employ child labor? It may look a very small issue in our industry, but I think if you were looking at the BBC, there is a report that some tomato paste, which is from Italy, which landed in the UK, there are ethical issues with it. It was grown in China, and there are issues that it was using forced labor and so on. I'm not sure it's true. We have those ethical issues. Are we dealing with companies that don't do those ethical things? So, how does Crown address this? Crown is the only paint company in the country with an ESG department, environmental social department. This is to address issues to do with the environment, issues to do with governance, issues to do with how we interact with the community. It's a separate department that goes directly to the board. We are also triple ISO certified. We are certified for quality. Everybody knows our quality is good. We are also certified for health, OSHA's 18,000. We are also certified for environmental protection. Now, this is our commitment to the built environment, that we supply good quality. Our processes don't harm our workers and users, and also we protect the environment. Okay? How do we achieve this? We have all the water that we use is full of chemicals, so we don't throw any of our water into Nairobi River. We recycle our water, we have our own recycling plant, so the water that we use for cleaning, for anything that contains chemicals, we recycle that before reusing it. We don't throw anything into the river. We also do solvent recovery, so we don't have a lot of gases polluting the environment. Thirdly, we are also into the use of solar energy and renewable energy sources. Up to 20% of our energy consumption is on renewable sources. And we are also using energy efficient equipment, especially for the affordable housing rates. Why we are doing that is we need to lower the cost of affordable housing. So if you use energy efficient equipment, it means you use less energy, your cost per unit becomes less. We are also launching a lot of water-based or raw fuel springs, solutions for waterproofing. We have specific products for affordable housing, which is a topical issue in Kenya. We also issue a warrant to give you peace of mind that when you use our paint, what will happen in the future. We do pre-application and post-application inspection, so that we are with you all the way from the beginning to the end. And at the end, we issue a written warranty that our paint will be okay for solving this. Now, what are we doing for the future? I think we are talking of technology. We are looking at using artificial intelligence for making our formulations for recipe. Instead of having 5 people doing trial and error until we get it right, we can use artificial intelligence for that. We have already started using artificial intelligence for color matching, for quality control. We are using it for maintenance to tell us when our machine is likely to break down, and we prepare ourselves using that. We also have a customer experience with artificial intelligence. You bring a picture of your house, we can paint your house in different colors virtually, and then you buy the paint that you want. All this is courtesy of artificial intelligence. We are also looking at nanotechnology. By nanotechnology, we are looking at paints which have extra antimicrobial properties, self-cleansing, areas where there is a lot of dust. When it rains, the paint will clean itself. We are looking at scratch-resistant paint, especially for cars. All this will be due to nanotechnology. Heat transfer paints, the paint to absorb heat and transfer it into air or into heating your house. Those are the things we are looking at in the future. We are also looking at the use of drones for painting. This is from a safety and an economical point of view. Instead of having scaffolds going up to 20, 30 stories, you can use a drone while you are on the ground. It goes and does your painting. You can use the same drone for inspection. You can use the same drone to predict when your paint is going to fail. Still on ethical issues, which I touched before, I think if you go to any African country, from Nigeria to South Africa to East Africa, you find that our buckets are being used for fetching and storing water. So how do we look at the people who are going to use these buckets? So in our formulations, we have removed all the heavy metals, lead, mercury, so that if people want to use our buckets for their water storage or food storage, there is no chemicals which will happen. So this is, in a nutshell, what Crown Paints is doing, is contributing to the belt technology. We will have another session with the Tina when we talk more about the products that we have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I mean, it's necessary for the supply chain of materials. We're going to lead this charge towards the sustainable agenda. I would like to ask a question, a brief reaction from the materials secretary from the State Department. Particularly, of course, for the side of affordable housing, we have challenges with material quality costs. The costs are high, qualities are not easily assured. Of course, at the State Department, you are one of the biggest consumers of material through the affordable housing agenda. So maybe just quickly speak to the issue of how do you deal with this, particularly of course, for the mention about rising taxes. Is the State Department doing something around this that goes as a effective in the private sector? Yes.
Thank you, Chair. It is indeed true that we are a major consumer of the building materials because of the many projects that we are undertaking. And under the affordable housing program, what we are doing to control the cost of the construction is that we are working with some fixed figures. We are working with some fixed construction costs per square meter, as was mentioned by the President of the UK. Currently, we are working with a cost of 40,000 per square meter. That is what we are working. And we are making sure that the contractors or those who are bidding for the work are able to get fit into that figure. Again, that figure will be dependent on the cost of the materials that are in the market. So in terms of the cost of materials, what we are doing is that we have very many incentives. Under the affordable housing program, we have the incentive on tax. We also have the incentive on tax of materials. Most of the items are zero rated, especially in terms of grant, which is coming through. So that to reduce the cost of the housing unit, the land is zero rated. In terms of the taxes on other materials, there is the import duties that are rated when importing materials erected for the purposes of affordable housing. And also in terms of the transfer charges that come at the end of the project, the stamp duty and the right, those taxes are exempted for the first-time home buyers. So there are a number of incentives to run the affordable housing program. Then also, if I was to mention on quality, again, quality is an input of the users in terms of the material. That one can only work with KEBS to ensure that whatever we are using, whatever materials we are using are of the right quality. has been approved by the head, and also the many consultants who are now supervising our project. We rely on the consultants to ensure that what is coming up in the construction site is what has been approved and the what is sustainable.
Thank you, Eunice. And of course, what we were saying earlier was that we are looking at doubling the number of people we have in this country, doubling the number of population urbanization. This issue of better quality is not an option. Because right now we are dealing with poor quality, poor standard projects as it was needed by the DLM committee. And you can imagine doubling that challenge. I think it will be major. Thank you, Julius. From a planner's perspective, I want you to tell me, in terms of, and I'm again tying this to affordable housing issue, from a planner's perspective, how do we ensure that the affordable housing program remains viable, okay, and sustainable? Because we will see a change in the next decade. So I would like to hear from a planner's perspective what your take is. Maybe you can refer to also what you had today.
So how do we ensure that the affordable housing program remains viable and sustainable? I believe one thing that needs to be adopted by the program is to ensure that we conduct feasibility studies. Right now, I believe counties to a large extent are able to identify land that can be fit for affordable housing. But how do we go about identifying using parameters and metrics that this land is actually suitable? And the CECM for Peter Tabeka mentioned here that if you want to introduce 5, 6, even 4-story building to certain parts of Peter Tabeka, that's a program. Because how then you encourage the culture, the culture there, they say they have adequate land. So why then are you putting the same constraints that you have with the central Nairobi, for example, the Nairobi metropolitan, you're imposing the central house that has expansive land. So it means that then we are not identifying or undertaking the feasibility studies. So that is one thing. Secondly, we need to ensure that when these houses are built, that the proper management applications are observed. That we apply, and I'll go back to what I was saying with the status of built environment, leveraging AI and digital technology. We should be able to look at how technology will assist us to efficiently manage the affordable housing. We do not want to end up one in a situation of ghost towns, neither do we want to end up two with factory slums. And the citizenry has already raised these concerns. And we need to listen to the voices of the people that we do not want to just have numbers with the affordable housing. Sustainability will be when those homes are actually occupied by the right people. We also do not want to see a scenario where someone who has the financial muscle is coming to buy a block of the affordable housing unit. Let it be as it was designed earlier, that it is affordable housing for those people that are within a certain income group, or not those people that are targeted to ensure that we get Kenya to the place that it is envisioned to be in Vision 2030. So those are maybe two key takeaways, but I would really emphasize on the application of digital technology because it will assist us to also scenario build. We can be able to use digital twinning, BIM, and other applications to see if you put in a 24-story unit here, how does it affect the sun path, the wind, the heat island effect? So we're able to utilize technology to be able to foresee these and then advise accordingly. The other element is data, utilizing data. What are we using? What metrics are we using to say that this population, we've had a gap of 200,000 units from way back? Does the number still remain the same? Perhaps if we were able to conduct regular research, those numbers could be, changing. We can be able to demonstrate using graphs that in 2018 this was the housing gap, and now in 2024 this is the housing gap. So data really, it's driving governance. We're going to ensure and see sustainability.
Thank you, Christine. And just a key point that there. Are we working towards those two polar opposites, that is ghost cities or vertical slums, in the sense that if this affordable housing project is successful, are we going to see sustainable urban spaces, or are we going to see that the dystopian future that is saying that we shouldn't be working towards? And from the pointers, some of the reasons we are taking the statistics ready is to be able to see, are we on the road to sustainable cities, or are we building as a future we are not willing to see? Shama, engineer, I'll come to you. Before, I'd like to pass the mic to the architect, but I want to put a question to you, engineer, so that you can prepare. I would like to hear what IET is doing. You mentioned about the infrastructure scorecard that you are preparing. I'd like to know what you're doing, a snippet of that. But at the same time, we are also trying to promote the idea of collaboration and co-working, particularly when it comes to design. So I don't know whether you're able to speak to what engineers, who are of course most important consultants when it comes to infrastructure, where they're putting in landscape architects and planners and architects. But quickly, I would like to hear from my chair, the architects chair. We heard about AI, but our team around here is the issue of AI, but technology mostly. And how do we leverage modern construction technology? Unfortunately, it was mentioned that we are one of the sector that is very slow in adopting new technologies. I don't know, maybe you can speak to that and you know, what you feel, architects should be doing or are doing or are not doing when it comes to leveraging technology in construction.
Thank you, Vice President. I saw the presentation by Senior Architect Juma, and he alluded to an immigrant population of architects who are either struggling to absorb technology or have certainly discovered that there's a way to do things. I don't know how the numbers work. Maybe he could have started by telling us whether he has adopted technology sufficiently in the practice of architecture. A couple of months ago, I think last year, the architects chapter had a presentation on AI, and of course the adoption of AI in production of architectural drawings and primarily architectural design. In fact, there's a whole new generation of architects who have embraced AI and happily are able to quickly turn around designs into reality. Of course, there's also a gap between adopting that technology and sufficiently using it to come up with designs, and also monitoring the development of those designs on sites. I don't have statistics, but I believe that if you're not adopting AI, or you're not adopting these technologies in your practice as an architect or a professional for that matter, then the technology will just face you out. When Kodak was not receptive to change a couple of years back, we all know what happened to it. Just the other day, I think 2 days ago, I saw they were coming back, embracing technology. And so if you're not picking up these new technologies, then you are taking a good for your practice. Now, the other side of things is using that technology in construction, because if you are not building your designs, then you are not realizing anything. There is a lot of manual associated with the SPD. The construction processes are very manual in Kenya. There was a project that was done by 14 trees. A couple of projects in Ghana. I think there's one at the coast, there's one under Nairobi, and they are 3D printing houses. I would like to hear, I'm also posing this as a question to the State Department, whether the State Department is adopting such technologies, especially for mass production of housing. If you're not able to implement or to adopt new technologies, then the brick and mortar will most likely be more expensive. Therefore, from the side of architects, we are pulling the weight. I am glad to report that the architects chapter has participated in a session where we just discussed AI, the usability and adaptability of the same in practice, and also because it was a challenge to the state department to stop just being brick and mortar and adopt these technologies in implementing the affordable housing.
Thank you, Jen. And in fact, the good thing you pointed out that it's one thing to fashionably adopt these things, but it's quite another to be productive using the technologies. And of course, when you're talking about technologies in the construction sector, we're not just talking about software or AI. We're also talking about the new method of construction as well, trying to challenge, for example, the government in terms of actual print. The idea of 3D printing is quite new. And of course, it might run out of quarries very soon. So I don't know whether it's sustainable to continue using stone to build. Shama, I'm coming to you. Take the mic, but I want to pose this question to Alubala. I will just throw it to you so that he can prepare. Because he's representing the board. That's the board of the Conversion and Policy Areas. One of the major challenges we've had is that of emerging professions not being regulated or recognized. And of course, we also have the bigger workload being done by technicians, fundies, or sorry, not the technicians, I'm talking about the technologists and technicians that are diploma holders, especially in some of the technical fields. What can be done? Not necessarily what is just like to ask you, Mr. Mbala, speak what he thinks can be done to better integrate their inputs. Shama, I have a question for you and I think it was clear. I can repeat it if you want to. Please go ahead.
Yes, repeat. Some people are saying
Okay, those people who are outside, please come inside, come with your team. And you can start preparing your questions because from here I'm going to ask them to give a very small reaction to the report as a closing remarks, but I would like you to react and comment. So please come back inside with your team and don't take a lot because there's dinner. The question I asked the IEK president was in regards to do with infrastructure, just to mention a snippet of their scorecard on the report they're preparing and what they are doing with other to encourage collaboration. Because we are talking about one of the major principles of the 3IF framework is actually co-design, and it's not possible for us to do integrated and inclusive infrastructure without involving other professionals. But before that, please just tell us about the scorecard. Maybe there's some things you need to shock us with some of stats.
Thank you very much. Thank you, President. It's part of what we've been doing in that collaboration. And earlier that not only come together as IKSA, IK, and AAK, we have also reached out to people, and it's nice things, primarily because no project will carry out as an selected specialist, professional, as it were. The roads engineer requires a surveyor to get the data that he needs so that he can feed it into CPPD, any other sort, so that he can get the road profile and all that. When we are setting out even the routes, we require economists, we require sociologists, we have people affected by projects, we have rapid allocation, disposal, displacement of people when you're doing infrastructure projects. So more often than not, circumstances force us to collaborate. So you find us engaging economists and sociologists, already mentioned that we require surveyors and all that. So this comes natural for us, especially when we're in the infrastructure space. Sometimes you tend to imagine, of course, that it's only the building space, that this is required where the architect, the structural engineer, the civil engineer, the mechanical engineer, the electrical engineer required. But all across, and I'll give you an illustration, for example, a dam. There are elements in that dam that require the civil engineer, the elements in that dam require the mechanical engineer, the elements in that dam require the electrical engineer. So, for us, infrastructure projects are by their very nature necessary to involve an element of collaboration. Now, bringing it further home, and I read a story about Zaha Hadid. You know Zaha, the late, prominent architect. I think the firm still runs. I was reading her story on her involvement, not only on design of stadiums, but actually on design of cars, that it required the artistic mind of the architect to design the fluid curves in some of the cars that you see in the streets. That is just an illustration that the engineering project, that is a car, requires the architect. Take it further home. When we have some of these road bridges that we have all over the place, footbridges, I had a complaint some time back that they are very ugly when they are designed by the engineer. Because us as engineers, we run away as much as possible from the curves, especially structural engineers. Because the kind of forces a curve produces, they're so complicated that you want to run away from that. However, when you engage an architect, he will produce the fluid and a very nice footbridge. And we have been able to appreciate that, I can guarantee you. There is a place for a very nice curve for a road, and civil engineers produce that, for instance. But, and you have seen this before, the place of bespoke, outlandish kind of infrastructure makes statement. It requires various views, professional backgrounds, and this is not said in theory, it is necessary. And we must now entrench and embed the culture of critiquing our work, which I know is very obvious to architects, and all that, to the studios, and all that, but so many other professionals have not been able to do this. And as engineers, we are quite protective of our work. I'm a structural engineer. I say this is the way the forces will be, and if you want it to behave otherwise, I'm not responsible. And my professional licenses and this thing. So we must have that, of course, culture of accepting, increasingly to welcome the views of other people. Now, I have been involved in building code, and in the building code we entrenched Eurocodes, which is a standard of design for structural engineers. One of the requirements is design reviews. Design reviews. And it's something that we must learn. We must be willing to be given views and told this, look like this, but if we make it this way, it can come out better. And so by default, increasingly collaboration is falling in place for various reasons. And in other jurisdictions like the US, I understand you cannot design and implement. You have to design and leave it to someone else to implement. By default, that is going to happen because now we have entrenched Eurocodes, for example, into law. What that means is, even in my own office, I need the designer and the reviewer. Then I need independent review of my work. I think that's a shock effect. And I'm seeing senior here on a curricular area. I know that. And we will continue in Ganesha. We have to continue to inculcate this into the industry. And I appreciate that we must continue to learn and relearn. So some of these things we can learn. we can adopt. Now, for IRC, which I've already shared with the President, infrastructure report card, this is done from our view as engineers globally. So, Institute of Civil Engineers UK produced theirs, and actually it is adopted by the government as sort of a guide for the infrastructure development for the UK. I was interacting with the Institute of Civil Engineers, UK members, and that's how serious they are with it. In the US, for example, the infrastructure scorecard is used to score the dams. Are they class C, class D? The roads, the airports, and all that. So we are just taking baby steps here in Kenya, and as engineers. And I hope the President can share with you, we have covered the various aspects: wastewater, water supply, airports, and all that. But most critical, and from the question that he has asked, we have been doing a lot of mess in our road infrastructure. But if you look at the statistics, the road users, only about 30% have vehicles. I think about, and I've seen some colleagues here in the road sector, about 40% could be people who are walking. About 15% could be people, two-cycle, NMT, stuff like that. Then you ask yourself, when you design the road and build the road, and you build it for the vehicles, you leave no space for the person walking, or for the person cycling. What have you done? You have actually built an infrastructure for 30% users. That's your 40% there. What have you done? You have actually excluded the larger majority of the users of that infrastructure. And so increasingly now, we're relying more on data. We want to know why we are doing the road, and I think you have seen roads that we are now designing, and we are calling urban mobility. We're calling it urban mobility. We are designing actually for all the users. We want to see you have left space for cyclists, you have left space for we have avenues and space for those who want to cross the road in their feet, those who want to cross the road in their riding, and stuff like that. And I know those who have also traveled in jurisdictions, in Europe and other, you see how organized they have thought about this. Where the cyclists are, where the motorists are, where the people walking are. And there are even notices that because this is a time for the cyclist to pass, for the person walking to pass, the vehicles to. Not the way you do here. We are fighting with you are on the zebra crossing and you are fighting with the person walking. To pass with the car. So increasingly, the aspect of collaboration has to be there. But then again, our IRC, we're engaging the players in the public space and the policy makers, so that then it starts informing our design. It starts informing the prioritization for expenditure and capex. Right? How many are we looking at people coming to take care by year? What are the projections? Should we just say we are expanding for the sake of expanding? What are the numbers you're talking about? The roads, and of course zoning and planning. When we say this is where we are going to have this kind of infrastructure concept, what then informs the infrastructure? The horizontal and vertical infrastructure. So that then we are more data based and all that. And so increasingly collaboration is unavoidable. We have to engage social scientists, we have to engage people in the arts, we have to engage, of course, the scientists, and make sure that we are implementing infrastructure from the point of decision making that is data-based.
Engineer, thank you. Please hand over the mic to everyone. But I would like to say that it's important you mention data, and it's important that we maintain a database that informs our decisions, both in terms of allocations budget-wise, but also design decisions. And it's interesting you mentioned how we use roads. And I think maybe it would be interesting for engineers to really take the data in terms of the different road users, the motorbikes, the bicycles, the hookers, the street vendors. These are our realities in a developing economy. Do we design roads that actually benefits everyone, as you put it? And what data are we actually using? It's very important to note that we have lots of money, and what decisions are being used to allocate the money? Is it the data on the ground, or is it a different statistic that is based on political allocation, for example? So, and I think it's good that you bring that up. We know it's a major challenge in terms of decision-making data. Thanks, President, for joining us. I will bring a question to you in a bit. For the rest of you, I will ask you to prepare just a 1-minute presentation on what you think of the report, or what stood out for you. Alubala, on the question of collaboration, I'm just having that thought stream. How do we encourage the emerging professionals? How do we bring them on board? How do we legally recognize them? How do we regulate them? Is it even necessary? Or are we just going to have them play outside the regulation and do what they feel like? I don't know what the board is doing, or what do you think?
Thank you, Vice President. Yes, I sit on Borax board, and we know that change is always there, and if we do not change, change will change us. And the board is aware of the changes that are going on in our professional environment, and we as a board, we had come up with a build, what we call Built Environment Bill, which incorporates all professionals. It had actually gone up to the Attorney General, but then the term of the previous government ended. Unfortunately for our government, or the way things work in this government, if a government goes, then and another one comes in, you have to start afresh. So we have again pushed this one. It is at the CS desk, on the CS table, ready to go to cabinet, so that at least all the professionals are incorporated in this particular bill. And of course, as we know, this one went through public participation. All people came in and gave their contributions, so all of them are incorporated. We are just waiting for it to be effective. The other question you asked is, what is the board doing about these technologies and other people who are coming up to design buildings rather than leaving it to the architects or ourselves to do this? Let me tell you, we are our own enemies. As I sit on the board, I see we are our own enemies. We should not even blame the technicians. What we have seen is that what the ethics committee in the board is constantly handling, including now, is misbehavior by us, whereby a technician or a technologist, whatever name we want to give them, comes up with a design and brings to you as an architect to stamp. Let me give you an example. I witnessed it myself. I encountered it myself. I was doing a project for a client. A client recommended this other person, saying that I worked with this person, he's a very good person, please work with him, this QS. So when I went on this particular project, I found that project did not have an architect. The person who was handling it, whom the client was calling my architect, has never even gone to a polytechnic. This person is, I think, a Form 2 or Form 3 dropout, who now was working in an architect's office, making models, for buildings. And he excelled in doing those things so much that he could now make those things and sell. So now he has sold to this client of mine now. So you can see, by the time we are, either, I don't know whether it is because of greed or economic hardship, that the ethics in the Borax has really interdicted quite a number of us because of being found unethical or misconduct, and even Because people come, either clients or other professionals accusing the other professional, and they all land on the boards, and it goes to ethics committee to look into it. So, can we just do what we want, so that we do not give these quacks system? Because you see, boards regulates registered members. We don't regulate those quacks. We have no power to go and discipline those guys. So it's like going to discipline an engineer. An engineer can only be disciplined by the engineer's board. So for us, we only deal with architects and quantity surveyors. So please, I will only urge ourselves just to keep to the lane we were trained at the university and do our work.
Thank you, Mbala, and I think it's a challenge to us again. Some of the names which are being thrown around like Aqua might actually be someone who thinks idea, because if you are promoting the illegality, you are by essence Aqua. Thank you, QS. President, I would like to take the mic again and just speak to some of the priorities that AAK is focusing on currently in advancing green building, the green building agenda. Just quickly elaborate some of the initiatives and some of the things we've been enjoyed by other. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Vice President. Good evening, everyone, once more. AK, have, being the home of 8 professionals, we have an environmental design consultants chapter, which is, charged with the green building design work that we're doing, all the work around sustainability and climate change. I don't know if there's anyone who's a member of that chapter who's here. Anyone? All right. First and foremost is to say that the chapter has been in existence for maybe about 14 years. It's been around for a long time. And the goal of that particular chapter was to develop what they call the Sapphire Green Building Index, SGBI. And the SGBI is a green building rating tool, which is localized. It's actually built from trust principles, a collaboration between, it's a collaboration between the University of Nairobi, the UN Habitat, and the Architectural Association under the Environmental Design Consultants chapter. We shorten it EDC chapter. And this particular tool is something that we are very proud of, and we're very privileged to be the ones who are hosting it. Specifically because the tool is homegrown. All the other tools that exist that are currently being used in the market are actually from outside, or at least they've not been built or produced from first principles to consider the climate that we have. Remember, Nairobi, for instance, has one of the most unique climates. It's called the tropical upland climate. It's not just tropical climate. And so how do you consider that particular type of climate where we're in a tropical setting, but we are a little bit high in terms of altitude? So obviously, our climate is really different. It considers the materials that we use locally: timber, round earth, brick, and so on and so forth. Our local stone, for instance, and so on and so forth. If you look at, for instance, all the other tools, they do have that portion of materials, but this is really homegrown, and we are very privileged to have this tool. We launched it in 2021 during the AK convention, where we're talking about climate action, because now we're no longer talking about climate change. The change has occurred, so what do we do about it? Secondly is to mention that now we have a website for that particular tool, and we are now hoping to start rolling it over to, in terms of the next steps. One, to encourage our members to volunteer their projects to be rated. Okay? If you have a project, you want to take it on as one of the pilot projects to enable us to, find out how this tool is operating in the market, we'll be happy to do that. That's the first thing we want to do. Number 2, we want to do training around that particular tool. And then number 3 is also just to continue having awareness creation around the same. Along the same lines, we've been engaged with the State Department of Public Works through what we call the Kenya Decarbonization Roadmap. Recently, we held our second workshop, and we're looking at so many things. We're looking at planning from decarbonization. We're looking at material. We're looking at existing buildings. We're looking at new buildings. We're looking at even construction processes in terms of technology and project management. And so we have this working group that AAK members are involved in, and we're trying to push this roadmap to help Kenya to decarbonize going forward. We partnered with the State Department of Public Works as well as the Global Buildings and Performance Network to be able to do that work. Thirdly is that on the 27th of November, which is last week actually, we were involved, and the Vice President was there, at the launch of what they're calling the Green Building Standards. The same way we have a national building code, the government wants to work on the Green Building Standards. And at AAK, we already have these standards. Just when you look at a rating tool, it gives you some standards on how you should build. But also through the ADC, we want to participate in helping the government to come up with these Green Building Standards. And why is the government involved in this? Why not us as private sector, and so on and so forth? So Kenya is a co-chair in what is called the Green Buildings Working Group, or under the Green Buildings Working Group from the COP29 event that was held in Baku, in Azerbaijan. Now, what is happening around the world is that obviously we know that green buildings are the ones that are, they're the ones that are known to be, about 37% of the carbon that is emitted is coming from building, the built environment, industrial, roads, construction, and so on and so forth. And so being a major contributor towards carbon, then it's imperative that we start looking at, one, decarbonizing, but also going forward the kind of standards that we need to have in place to help us do this. There have been no green building standards. In fact, the only green building standard that has existed in this country for about 10 years is the one on solar, where you must install solar on your roof. But who has looked at that? Who has engaged in that? Solar is one area, it only looks at the part of energy. And so because the government is embarking on doing the green building standards through the support of the World Bank, IFC, with the support of the Swedish government as well as the French government and other partners who want to engage in helping Kenya to move this forward. We want to be at the forefront of that. And they're looking at piloting it using the Affordable Housing Program. So in a way, the government is saying we need some standards so that they can also measure the performance of the housing that is going to be done 730 units in the pipeline that we just looked at when we talked about the report that we saw today. And so we want to engage ourselves in being part of developing of those standards. And if you look across the world, other countries have been able to do that. If you look at Egypt, for instance, they have the GPRS, the GPRS, which they're calling the Green Pyramid Rating System, which they're using for the Affordable Housing Program. You go across to the Asian countries, they use the green mark, and a lot of their buildings actually have the green mark there. Recently, when we went to the architects chapter for the UAE in Malaysia, they have something, they're just calling it the Green Building Index, GBI. They're not giving it the name Malaysia or maybe another name that we would be knowing, but they actually have these standards. And these standards and rating tools have been in existence for 30 to 40 years, and they're using them. And that's how they're able to turn around some of the buildings that they've had for a long time. So every new building that's coming up is actually well rated. I want to finish by saying this, that actually the most sustainable building is the one that is already built. For any new building that you're going to build, you're already moving away from sustainability because you're using new materials, you're using more energy, you're doing a different design, maybe you're not considering daylighting and so on and so forth. And so the buildings that are existing are the ones that we need to start looking at in terms of decarbonization, in terms of greening them, and in terms of making them sustainable for the future. How can we introduce small little things here and there that can help us to engage ourselves as professionals to make sure that the existing buildings are the ones that should be kind of like the first respondents to this. And so at AAK, we've partnered with the Habitat for Humanity, and we have the Healthy Homes Guidelines and Checklist. And I'm very happy to note that Crown will be partnering with us to encourage, or rather to spread the news and to talk about the issues of public awareness of this particular checklist and guidelines, which talk about daylighting. A simple thing, if you enter a room, like for instance today, we've entered a room all dark, no natural ventilation, no whatever, but I also asked myself, why will I get another room like this in Nairobi? maybe at Fairview, where we're able to actually open the windows and have natural ventilation. So the idea is to have this checklist that is available across the country. People can just look at it, they enter the building, they check, does it have proper lighting? What are the noise levels? You can just use an app and you check the noise levels of the area.